A very warm welcome to each of you to the Cyber Tech Institute of Australia's inaugural Open Day for Cyber Security Analysts. I'm Dave Cohen, the General Manager of the CTIA. CTIA is a proud division of the Risk to Solution group of companies, with CEO and world-renowned authority on risk solutions, Dr. Gov Schneider at the helm. Risk to Solution are leaders in integrated risk solutions, protecting what counts. The panel of experts that we have lined up today will provide you with all the information that you need to make your decision an easy one, and that's to certify with CTIA. Our trainers have highly qualified skills of engagement, technical ability, practical experience, and real working knowledge of the industry that they are going to prepare you to enter. During the program, we will expose you to international guest trainers, which will add another dimension to your experience with us. Israeli-based company Wawiwa provides the content of the programs that you will work through. Israel, being the tech innovation hub of our time, have developed the most relevant and sought-after material by the finest cybersecurity minds in the world. Our advisory committee is comprised of industry specialists and major corporate role players in cybersecurity to ensure that we do indeed deliver the best all-round experience to you. Coupled with cutting-edge program material powered by Wawiwa, CTIA goes far beyond delivering just course material. We have a pulse, we have a soul, and we have your best interests at heart. Certifying with Cyber Tech Institute of Australia will give you the competitive advantage when going into the job market. You're here because you understand that cybersecurity is a career field on the upswing. Employer demand for cyber professionals is constantly high, and as portrayed by CyberSeek, and the outlook over the next decade is extremely promising, according to the projections of the US Bureau of Labor and Statistics. As the next hour unfolds, our expert panel will provide you with the invaluable insights into your new chosen career. Without further ado, I will now outline the structure of the next hour. Kicking off our session will be our very own Ron Amram, GM of Training and Education in the group, who will give you an introduction into the program. Following Ron will be Alex Webling, who are extremely fortunate to have serving on our advisory committee, and will address the cyber trends to watch in the coming year. Nadav Nachmias, who's the head of cybersecurity program from Wawiwa in Israel, where it's currently 2 a.m., will take you through the curriculum and technology overview. CTIA's lead career consultant, Linus Hogan, will outline the enrollment process, pre-program assessment, and career development paths. Linus will then hand the baton over to Greg Brown, who's the director of Caliber, who specializes in recruiting for global software companies. Greg will provide insights into the prospects of the job market in cybersecurity. We'll then have an opportunity to address any questions that you may have to our panel. Throughout the hour, please feel free to post questions in the chat box, and we'll address them at this point. Or at this point, you'll be welcome to address them to the panel directly. Ron, over to you.
As Dave mentioned, my name is Ron Amram. I am the General Manager of Training and Education at the Risk to Solution group, which the CTIA sits as part of. My background is in education. I've been in education at all levels, from primary school to postgraduate over the last 20 years. Both my parents are teachers. And what I'm really passionate about with education, which is why I'm really excited about this program and the partnership we've got with Wawiwa Tech, is not just about giving people information and knowledge, it's about actually giving them skills for life and for the workplace that they can take with them outside of just the course content itself. Which is why I think we've got something really cool on our hands here, which I would be very happy to share with you next. So a little bit of information about the program and about the current state of the market. So the average full-time salary in Australia at the moment sits at roughly $68,000 per year. However, the average cybersecurity analyst salary in Australia sits at roughly $110,000 a year, and that is at a kind of entry-level position. So let me ask you this: what would you do with $42,000 a year extra? All right, be a nice little bonus for sure. It is estimated 7,000 new direct jobs needed in the cybersecurity sector by 2024. And Australia's cybersecurity workforce has grown by more than 23% in the last year. So we're seeing tremendous growth in that area, where the skills are needed and the people are needed, and it's going to continue over the next few years. Now, we live in the world of COVID. Miles are just talking about, being in isolation. So, lockdowns and restrictions and all the challenges that come with. 43% of cybersecurity workers can fully carry out their job responsibilities while working remotely. And 1/3 don't require being on site. All right. So this gives you great flexibility in managing the challenges that we're in at the moment, as well as just giving you a bit of work-life balance, which is great. And lastly, women in the cybersecurity workforce has increased by 10% over the last few years. So great opportunities for equal opportunities and equality in the workplace. So we talked about it from the salary side. Let's look at it from the perspective of a company or a business that's looking to hire. Right? On average, 50% of hiring managers do not believe their applicants are well qualified for cybersecurity roles. And on average, 16% of employers say that it takes 6 or more months to fill new cybersecurity positions, with 71% of companies expecting cybersecurity budgets to increase in the next 3 years. So what does that actually tell us, right? We're seeing that there is demand for cybersecurity professionals, and we're expecting budgets and employability to increase, positions to increase. However, employers are facing a real challenge in finding suitable, qualified, and experienced people to fill those roles, and it can take, as you've seen there, 6 or more months. Now, another interesting statistic, which is not listed on the slide there, is historically, 70% of graduates of Wawiwa Tech training centers around the world, and CTIA is one, 70% of graduates find a job within the first 3 months of graduation. And the program is designed not only to give you the skills of a cybersecurity analyst, but actually includes career consultation and developing the skills to make you job ready, to make you more attractive to employers. Now, I mentioned that we are a Wawiwa Tech training center, and Dave touched on that earlier on. So Wawiwa Tech is an Israeli company that was founded by some of the brightest minds in cyber and tech. And they've developed a very unique training methodology and program, which I believe isn't done anywhere else. And outside of the skills of actual cybersecurity analysts, right? Much of the training is conducted in a cyber lab, a virtual cyber lab. So roughly 70% of the course is practical hands-on experience where you will be doing the actual things you'll be doing in the workplace, in the cyber labs. We have the Bring It Together projects where you'll be testing all of the skills you've learned throughout the project. You'll have masterclasses and workshops with international experts in that field. You'll get career consultation as well to help ensure that you find a job upon graduation. And when you graduate, you'll be part of a global alumni network of tech professionals, which can open up a lot of doors as well. And you'll meet lots of cool people. So we're talking about a cybersecurity analyst. What does a cybersecurity analyst actually do? So a cybersecurity analyst works with a company to monitor and to fight threats to an organization's information technology and operational technology infrastructures. So some of the things that are included in that you will have to perform on a daily basis involve things like working with the Linux environment, managing the network system security, and that could include monitoring security access, performing security assessments, conducting security audits, or managing network infrastructures, identifying the causes of security breaches, and updating the company's response and disaster recovery plans. In terms of the program itself, the program is 100% online, with 70% of that being hands-on practice. So again, designed to give you the actual skills and experience that you need rather than focus just on theoretical knowledge. It is a 9-month part-time program, which is 350 academic hours. You will develop knowledge of Microsoft and Linux OX. Linux we'll talk later. Linux is the system. Firewalls and information security and cyber security. You will gain skills in problem solving and teamwork through hands-on experience. And I mentioned the Cyber Lab several times. We'll actually have a bit of a talk about that in a moment. And finally, the BIT, or the Bring It Together project of the program, we will demonstrate everything you've learned, put it together to show that you're ready for the industry. Thanks very much, guys. Dave, I'll throw it back to you.
Many thanks, Ron. That is really a great outline of the course material that students can expect to receive. Very informative. I'd now like to hand you over to Alex, who gives us great pleasure to welcome you to our panel, which will provide us with great insights on the security trends to watch in the coming year. Thank you, Alex, for giving us your time. Over to you.
As Dave said, my name's Alex Webling. I'm on the advisory committee for CTIA. I'm actually a CISO for hire, working for companies and governments around the country, state and federal. You were just told a little bit about the program. What I'm going to tell you about in the next sort of 10, 15 minutes, and I'm happy to take questions, is the why. Why is this rising so much? I think you may have heard many things in the papers about what's happening in the cyber world, but it's useful sometimes to just sit back and actually sort of take stock. And this is a good time. You know, we're just before Australia Day, and you know, it's going to be a bumpy ride, or it's going to continue to be a bumpy ride in the cyber world. So I think one of the first things to say is that it's not going away, and government is becoming even more interested in cyber security and cyber more generally, because it's having more of an effect in the real world. You know, that's got positives and negatives. It's likely to be positive in that there will be less of a cyber wild west in the world, at least in Australia, maybe not in some of the other countries around here. The SOCI legislation that I mentioned there, which is the security of critical infrastructure legislation, is going to come into force. Lots of large organisations that are hit by that are going to be required to actually improve their cyber security and report back to government on their cyber security, and they're going to be panicking at the board level, and so that means that they're going to be asking for more cybersecurity analysts. You may or may not be aware that, in fact, the national privacy legislation is being reviewed at the moment. There's currently an open consultation on that, and if Australia wants to continue to be linked to the EU, and particularly because we're interested in having a free trade agreement, even though we've had this little tussle with the French, we're going to probably have to accede to something called the GDPR, which is the General Data Protection Regulations. And that will have effects on Australian business and also government. One of the big reasons why Australia hasn't been considered to be a GDPR equivalent country previously is because there's a carve out for small business in Australia. And so there may have to be, for small business, they may have to actually sort of reduce that carve out, which of course will drive demand for cybersecurity analysts and cybersecurity experts around the place. State governments, I work quite a bit with the Queensland state government, the cybersecurity unit in Queensland, but also the cybersecurity units around the countries are starting to focus more on the next level of governments. If you think about state governments, they've sort of got these rings, they've got their inner departments, and then they've got their smaller departments, and then they generally own these government business enterprises, which are organisations that are meant to run like businesses but are owned by governments. Often they are power companies and things like that. But the state governments are starting to put pressure on their GBEs, and that of course is also driving demand for cybersecurity skills. The USA and Europe are starting to talk more on cybersecurity, and of course we have a small problem with our relations with China, and so there is this issue of balkanization in our relations with China. That doesn't only happen in our trade relations, it also happens in our cyber relations. And internationally, things like these international security rating schemes like Security Scorecard are starting to become more important. That's happening in the US. It's going to happen here inevitably. You'll see it in the larger organizations before you see it in the smaller ones. Okay. So some of the things that aren't changed is, and you've heard it already, is that there's a skills gap. There are skills gaps in particular areas, in what you might call the technical skills, but also in the people skills that are core to cyber security, getting people within an organization to work on things. You're going to see social engineering, that's going to be unchanged. ID Care, which is a Queensland-based organisation located in the University of Sunshine Coast, they're going to have their work cut out for them because more and more people are going to find themselves affected by the loss of identity and such like. Supply chain security. Now, if you're running an organisation, you can do an awful lot to actually improve the cybersecurity of your organisation. But increasingly, the most sophisticated attacks are happening by an organisation being targeted through the organisations that they use to produce, to provide their parts. And if an organisation can be attacked through their supply chain, that can be the weakest point. And often an attacker will look at an organisation, investigate the organisation, and then just probe it. And if it's too hard, then they may try and attack via the supply chain. And that's been happening increasingly to larger organisations. You'll see this in the mining companies especially, but also in organisations in the financial sector because they have lots of money. And so the idea of what the span of control of an organisation is and the span of influence is going to have to expand. And so larger organisations, you think of your big mining organisations, your big financial organisations especially, but all of them, governments, are going to have to put more effort into cajoling, influencing, forcing to some extent their suppliers to become more cyber secure in order to protect themselves. Okay. Ransomware as a service. Now, we're starting to see a two-speed internet. One for large business and governments and one for SMEs and the greater public. And the reason is because large organisations, business and government have more money to spend on cybersecurity. Of course, they're also a larger target in many cases, but they're also they also have more money to spend on themselves. And so increasingly they are becoming a bit hard for a lot of criminal gangs. Some are obviously still targeting the large organisations, but it's easier now for organisations in the criminal world to attack SMEs. And so, especially with COVID over the last 2 years, SMEs have been forced to allow their workers to work from home from their home devices. Home devices are not necessarily secure. They don't necessarily know how to make them secure, how to manage them and such like. And ransomware is going to continue to grow exponentially. And this is exacerbated by COVID. And since COVID's not likely to go away for the next couple of years, the BYOD device and ransomware world is not going to change. It's going to just keep on increasing. I've seen various figures related to this. Some have talked about 100% increase year on year. Some have talked about more. I'm not sure that there's a lot of clear indications on that. Two-speed internet, I mentioned previously. the internet haves and have-nots. So there are a lot of defensive technologies coming online for large organizations and government. AI-powered cybersecurity is going to start to be introduced in the financial sector. You're already seeing it in some of the the big banks. And whilst we've been having talk of quantum-based security, there are a couple of products now that are at the readiness stage to be introduced. And I said increase in ransomware. So you've got this idea that you've got these very large organizations which are comparatively wealthy, who are able to spend more money on defending themselves, and so introduce more technology, which then make the criminal gangs effectively move to the easier targets, which is the general public and SMEs. IoT attacks. So we are now in the sort of fourth wave of the internet, however you might describe it, to where IoT devices and what was once called SCADA are very much controlled on the internet. So we've moved from the point where we had a sensor world where we were looking at things but we couldn't control things, to now we're in very much a world where we control the outside world, the physical world, through the internet. And one of the figures that I saw is this idea that IoT devices up at 18 billion by 2022, which is an enormous number. So the consequence of this is the increased numbers of access points for cyber criminals, because in general they haven't, particularly in the consumer world, they haven't been well protected. And if you want to scare yourself, just go to Shodan, which is a search site, and you can actually sort of see how many unprotected devices there are on the world, on the internet.
Wow, Alex, that was incredible. If you weren't certain about a career in cybersecurity, that should certainly give you an impetus to want to get involved in our industry. Thank you very much for your time. Now, Dov, I'd now like to hand over to you. I hope you've had your coffee. I hope you're awake at 2 o'clock in the morning. Thank you for giving of your time at this crazy hour. And I'd like to now hand over to you to give us some more insight into the actual course material.
So yeah, you were saying this crazy hour, and we are still in cybersecurity. So, you know, it's roughly 2:30 a.m. I know it's late, but it's for cybersecurity guys. I think it's early afternoon at this moment. So, you know, but yeah, I had my last coffee for today. So yeah, thanks for the concern. Before I dive in, I have to admit I wrote some numbers down because Ron and both Alex were a bit scaring me. You know, all those big numbers about not being able to fill positions, and you know, 60% of employers say that 6 months to fill positions. And I've even read in one of the slides that yeah, the skills gap is an unchanged. So I have to beg the differ. It gets even bigger. Okay, it's get even wider, and we are missing a lot of skilled personnel to actually fill those gaps. And I'm more than happy to actually present what we was and CTI's take on what is this course that we are offering and what is the capacity that we are actually looking forward. So just a little bit about myself. I've been around cybersecurity for roughly 15, 16 years. I've been handling architectures and methodologies. I've been lately telling some of the organizations I work with what to do or not to do from a methodological point of view. In the things that I'm really interested in lately is usually helping security operation centers, either by establishing them or supporting an ongoing operations of them. And also I'm very particularly interested in cyber forensics and cybersecurity incident response. So discussing what it is that we are offering, what is this course that we are talking about. For the past 10 years, I've been helping people with either being a trainer myself or helping other trainers But the word that I'm actually looking for is cybersecurity education. And Ron has expressed this in the beginning about what is inspiring him and how he's actually being fascinated by this. And I always love hearing Ron speaking about this because you can actually see the excitement and how really into it he gets when he speaks about education, also from the family perspective. And I can really share this. Okay, so whenever I go into class and whenever we're talking about those IT stuff like we have here, Microsoft and Linux operating system, how exciting can that be? So this can really get exciting. And let me just share with you something before I dive in. Last week, the National Cybersecurity Bureau, head of National Cybersecurity Bureau here in Israel, finished his job and went out of the organization. And in an sort of like a finale or an ending interview, has said something pretty terrifying. Okay, so well, you probably don't see tanks outside, and you probably don't see the soldiers, and you probably don't see all the bullets flying around. But ladies and gentlemen, we're in war. Okay, and he wasn't just speaking about a particular organization. He's speaking in sort of like an international perspective. We are in an ongoing cyber security war. And I want you guys to reflect on that for a second. We're not preparing for something. We're not training people to be ready for something that might happen one day. This is literally happening right now. And when these distinctive gentlemen are saying that those numbers are only getting big and the skill shortage is only getting bigger, then we have to understand we're facing a real important problem here. In our course, we are looking to take people who are first and foremost are interested in technology and are definitely into the world of IT and technology. And well, they think that there is something in this world of cybersecurity. And we're taking them from the first steps up. We're starting with the world of IT. We personally believe that you cannot venture into cybersecurity or in cyber in general without being an IT professional, so knowing what computers and network computers are. So as the initial part of our program is mainly about those systems, right? Operating systems, Windows, Linux, etc. And as we move forward, you already start seeing in the curriculum how we are making sort of a shift. And then those, curse words, firewalls and information security is pouring in. But we really are starting to make those changes from talking IT in general and understanding what IT is to starting to be more precise, to talk about those more security-oriented matters until we literally deep dive into cybersecurity itself, where we need our attendant students to be able to recognize what is considered an anomaly and what is not a good thing and a bad thing. Now, having visited a lot of security operation centers myself, I find myself a lot of times seeing people who are filling those positions that are not really IT specialists, especially when it comes to shifts, people who are working by shifts. So they are students for maybe computer science or students for IT. But what it is they're really handling is that they're hoping that technology will be the savior. So either the people themselves who are doing this or their managers, they're just putting in money. We will purchase a device called SOAR or SIM devices, and we will invest money in additional technologies that will help us make sure that we're secure. But one thing is constantly neglected, and that's the human factor. And the human factor from a training perspective. And the one word that I really wanted to emphasize earlier, and I emphasize it now, is cybersecurity education. This is what we're focusing on. We're looking forward to educate personnel and not just train them. We don't want people to just follow the checklist of where to click and what to do next. We want them to think. We want them to realize that, yes, there's a cyber war being waged outside, and we need them to, well, literally make sense of the technology they're using. Anyone can open a firewall log file and see all the wonderful bits and bytes running inside. Being able to literally make the proper correlation to the organization you work at with the assets of this organization and understand that where something is happening in these logs and is considered an anomaly, something that will jeopardize your business, this is what we're after. So, it's all fun and games talking about malwares and hacking and exploits. And Alex even pointed out Shodan, and I went ahead and opened it. I won't show it right now, but yeah, there are a lot of things exposed on the internet. it's really nice to talk. It's really sexy to talk about those things. But I often find myself when I come to those organizations asking those analysts, security analysts, those guys that we are actually helping to train, what keeps your CEO at night? What prevents him from sleeping? And I'm not sure, yeah, ransomware is a nice word, but when we want you to understand what ransomware is, we want to take you through what it is practically. We want you to handle a ransomware, and we want you to also think what it means towards your organization. And this actually brings me to, I think, one of the most crucial aspects of our training. I often tell the story. I'm not sure how much time I have, so I'll cut it short, but I think that I made my parents pay a lot of money for the way I have learned and experienced the world of IT and cyber. So I've been doing this for roughly 20 plus 25 years. I've been breaking down computers. I've been making sure that if I learn something, I learn by disintegrating it. And then, placing everything back together is, you don't always do that. You're not always able to do that. So it does get expensive. And this is why we've created our virtual cyber labs as a concept. We believe in learning by doing. We believe in guiding our students by letting them, sorry for repeating this, breaking the environment, launching a ransomware, seeing what this ransomware is doing, analyzing what has happened because of that, and yeah, just right click and recreate your lab and restart again. The whole purpose of being in it's kind of funny to say, but in a bomb disposal unit is to actually be able to detonate a bomb and see what happens when this thing actually detonates. And this is what our cyber labs are all about. So since we have a variety of topics, starting from IT and going up to, these boundaries between IT and cybersecurity, and then deep diving into cybersecurity and incident response, something that you as security analysts will literally have to be doing. We want you to play around with those labs. We want you to understand that those labs are individual. So whatever you do in this nice little window that you see here in the presentation, your colleagues have their own private individual window. And when you let loose a malware and you understand the impact of this malware, well, guys next to you, they don't really bother by that. They can keep on doing their own work. This is all individual. So the whole program is based, like Ron has emphasized earlier, on 70% practical approach. We strongly believe in theory, but we even more strongly believe in the ability to make it more practical. And this is what we are actually aiming for. I do think that some people may have some questions about what this curriculum is and what this program is, and maybe about what this concept of a cyber war actually happening outside. This was no joke, okay? This is literally something that is happening. And of course, later on, when we go to Q&A, I will definitely be more than welcome to provide some extra insight should you guys be interested.
Thanks, Nadav. That was great. That really gives us an insight into how Cybertech Institute of Australia's course material, powered by Wawiwa, stands out from the rest of the field to get you job ready for the market that you're about to enter. Nadav, thank you, and you are free to go back to sleep. So thanks for that. Linus would like to now welcome you up onto the panel, where Linus will hold your hand through the process, right from registration all the way through to graduation. Linus, over to you.
Hi, everyone. My name's Linus. I'm the career consultant for CTIA. Like Ron, my background is also in education, more from the sales and consulting side, though. Initially in actually online engineering, and that's with both practical and academic. So moving into the cyberspace, it's quite a natural transition for me. Essentially, I'll be the first port of call for all of our candidates coming through. I'll be there to guide them through the whole process. That's right from enrollment all the way through graduation. So just give you an idea of how that's going to look. Obviously, no prerequisites here. Everybody is welcome to apply. No prior tech or programming experience is needed. That's what the 70% practical's for. Forgive me there, I clicked the button by mistake. In order to be admitted basically into the cybersecurity program, You need to demonstrate what we call the logic, precision, methodological abilities, and we test this through our assessment tool. The assessment tool essentially takes around an hour to complete, helps you choose which side of cyber you'd be going into, analyst, full stack development, and then variations of those as well in shorter courses. So the test for the program is, as it says there, general reasoning, bit of data control, and then verbal instructional comprehension. You will have a minimum hardware spec there as well that we do require, just so that you're successful with the program. You will need, as it says, at least a Windows 10, 8 gigs of RAM, 2.8 gig processor. Doesn't matter if it's i5, i3, what have you. Ryzen works as well. And then at least a 10 meg bandwidth. That will be the most crucial, obviously, to catch the live videos and whatnot as you go through the course. And definitely for the labs, I would say. Right. So we're looking for a start date of a 11th of March. Of course, all of these are subject to change. This is what we have targeted at the moment. We'll be looking at evening classes during the week for Wednesdays. They'll be from 6 to 10. So out of hours, doesn't really interrupt the workday. And then Saturday mornings. Now, these are Australian Eastern Standard Times. 2 hours a bit earlier there for Perth, obviously an hour if you're in South Australia. And you should be graduating the program overall in December of 2022. Now, essentially, we have a really strong collaboration with the tech industry leaders. One of them will be speaking directly after me as well. Prominent enterprises, and they're all looking to recruit. We're all well aware of the skills shortage there. So we will be placing the graduates as well, helping them with CV preparation, interviews, essentially putting them in touch with the correct recruiter for their chosen pathway. Over 70% of graduates will find a job in their new profession within 2 months. This is a extremely passionate target of ours, so we will be aiming to help you guys with that a lot. And obviously, once you've graduated, you'll be looking at receiving a certificate. You will have your long life membership with Wawiwa's alumni community. That is actually quite a good bonus. All the way through your career, you'll be able to obviously tap into that whenever you like, get some good advice, deal with some good networks there. Along with the hands-on experience and the Bring It Together project, that's the BIT, you'll be using that as your qual to get hired, of course. And as we said before, we'll be helping you with that. Currently, though, it does state, sorry about that one, click the button again. It's not internationally certified. However, it is coming from Israel and from Australia. We have a great collaboration there. As you see, it does meet specific standards. It is still beneficial globally. So, what you'll be looking at for the Cyber Analyst course itself as your investment overall, 10,995 Australian dollars. Everything included in that, of course, is your live classes, your cyber labs, your kits, your full materials, your exercises, your projects, access to the LMS, the Learning Management System, all of your materials, of course, as I said, and the alumni community. Now, from your end as the candidate, we'll be running you through that assessment test. Tuition will come through. We do have convenient payment options available. Currently, we have that standing as equal monthly options, but of course, feel free on a case-by-case speak to us. We're always happy to help and discuss what we can do to help you get in here. You're expected to invest roughly an additional 100 hours. That's for your homework, your after-class assignments, etc. Graduating from the program, we will require around an 80% of live attendance. That's to your after-hours classes, Saturday morning classes as well. And you will be required to submit the BIT projects with the passing grade. And that is all assessed, of course, by really competent people with skills not unlike Nadav.
Thanks, Linus. You really gave a sense of comfort and a sense of warmth to any prospective candidate that wants to register with the CTIA, and to let you know that you certainly won't be alone, and your interests and your journey with us will be very well looked after in the very capable hands of Linus. I'd now like to welcome aboard Greg Brown, who is the Director of Caliber Recruitment, who will give us an outline of what the job market in cybersecurity looks like, what the expected salaries are, and how cybersecurity is now taken to the market. Greg, over to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dave. And it's I've certainly learned a lot today. I didn't realise we're at such a cyber war, so some pretty interesting stuff that I've heard this morning. So I just wanted to talk to you guys today, and I just want to give you a bit of a background about me. So I founded Caliber. We actually pronounce it Caliber, not Caliber, but that's okay. Most people get that wrong. We're an IT vendor recruitment company. We specialise, one of our core specialisations is cybersecurity, and we've been around for 6 years. And we recruit right across Asia Pacific. So that's not just limited to Australia. We also do parts of Asia as well. And yeah, and it's been going really well. A little bit about me. I've been in tech recruitment for 12 years, and majority of that has been working with cybersecurity vendors, helping place numerous sorts of people. Of course, cybersecurity analysts, which we're talking about today. I've placed many of those, as well as other cybersecurity leaders, sales leaders, and executive talent right across Asia Pacific. So hopefully that gives me some street cred today to talk to you. I've placed probably in the thousands of people, so I know a little bit about it. So some market synopsis that I've put together just for where we sit in terms of the talent side. Certainly the demand for cybersecurity professionals has been growing, and the pandemic actually helped it. A lot of other industries were declining, but cybersecurity was certainly on the increase. So that's a pretty interesting fact, and it really grew at a rapid rate. I think working from home as well with the and the bring your own device, that's really increased the demand for cybersecurity professionals as well. Well, that's what I've seen. And another interesting point that I've got here on the slide is that the tenure has really only been 1.5 years in a job at the moment, and the average tenure for a job is about 1.8 years in tech as a whole. So that's an interesting fact, and I think the reasoning behind that is really because these jobs they've grown so fast that people are moving because there's always new opportunities. So if you do acquire the skill set, which I know CTIA could give you, you'll certainly have a lot of job offers that can come, and that's caused some of this movement. Some more market insights around cybersecurity analyst positions. I just wanted to make mention today. The talent pool for these people has grown, or these particular skill sets has grown 12% last year, according to LinkedIn Insights data they've collated, which is pretty interesting. So a 12% increase in these sorts of, in this talent pool is a really, really solid number. The gender diversity, which I know was mentioned earlier today, from the insights that we have, is 19% female to 81% male, which is a good indication that more females are coming into this particular marketplace, which is a positive thing. So gender diversity, is always good. It's always been, historically, cybersecurity has really been male orientated, but that's changing, and I think that's a positive sign. And then I wanted to also talk to the salary, and this is one of the key things. I think, as mentioned before as well, $68,000 was the average annual salary in Australia, whereas in this cybersecurity landscape, of course, these packages start at $110,000, and that's for people largely, perhaps with 1 or 2 years skill sets. In terms of no skill sets, it might be a little bit less than that. It could spit out at sort of $88,000 to $90,000, but that's sort of what we've seen in terms of people with less experience. That's what they're coming into in terms of a package perspective. And then it goes up from there, and and I've seen other cybersecurity roles that we've placed lately in that $165,000 range, even more. I've seen we've actually placed a couple at 180,000. But these people are quite experienced. We're talking probably 5+ years experience. Now, when we get to cybersecurity leaders, I wanted to put some information down here for you guys as well. So 2,176 professionals in this particular market segment in Australia alone. So this data is purely Australia-based only, and that talent pool only grew 3% last year. And there's another fact here that I have written down. 13% of the marketplace moved last year, meaning 293 of these individuals changed jobs. So that's an interesting fact. So 13% movement and a 3% talent pool growth. So the demand is ridiculously high, you know, and that's what you know, future students potentially can look to after a couple of years in the job. You know, these sorts of positions are certainly a growth pathway for them. And there's obviously a lot of opportunity. So it really is an exciting time to be involved in cybersecurity. This is another interesting point that I wanted to put on a slide. So these are the 10 fastest growing cybersecurity skills. Obviously, there's a lot of different skill sets in cybersecurity. There's a lot of layers of security. I'm certainly not an expert, but yeah, it's just there's multiple pathways you can go down from what we've seen. And then lastly, I just wanted to talk about how to prepare yourself to get that job in cybersecurity. I know that CTIA certainly assists with these sorts of points that I'm going to talk to right now, but you know, once you've completed the course, you know, here are 9 things that I think that can really assist you in making that next step. So the first thing is to update your CV. I think you know, your CV really is the marketing collateral that you can utilise to get at least a seat at the table to talk to somebody about a particular opportunity. The next one is, and is paramount, is really to update or create your LinkedIn profile. You know, LinkedIn is the global, you know, resume database of the world. I mean, that's where all recruiters go to. That's where future employers go to. You know, it's not only an online CV or an online CV database, but it's also a networking tool. Which is another point that really is going to assist everybody, you know, get in touch with the right sort of people. So the third point I wanted to make was join relevant cybersecurity groups on LinkedIn. I think that's a great thing to do because it allows you to once again network with relevant industry professionals, and in turn can certainly, you know, assist you get in touch with the right people that, you know, can help you get those jobs. The fourth point I wanted to make was to follow industry professionals, you know, on LinkedIn. You know, understand, you know, a lot of these people, they'll post interesting information, they'll talk about breaches, they'll talk about all sorts of things relevant to cybersecurity. So I think that's a great thing to do. The next point is to subscribe and to read relevant publications to cybersecurity. I think that's really critical. It's great to stay well read, keep abreast of modern trends, all different types of things. I think that's really critical. Also, sorry, I missed a point there. So follow other companies, leading cybersecurity companies, also on LinkedIn as well, because they'll often be posting jobs. They might be large IT services companies that specialize in cybersecurity. It could be cybersecurity vendors, or whoever has the jobs at the time. The seventh one, or the seventh point I wanted to talk to, bit of a plug for myself as well. Obviously, speak to specialist recruiters in the field. I think that's critical, right? So you need to just be at the forefront of these recruiters' minds, because they often have jobs that don't go to job boards, that don't go to the marketplace, and they'll be in the know for the, you know, the undercover job market, if you like. So often at times I might get a job and I might know 3 or 4 people, and I'll call them straight away and get them that job, and it will never see the light of day type of thing. So you need to be in the network to be able to secure those types of jobs. The next point is to sign up to job alerts. In Australia, we've got Seek, we've got LinkedIn. These particular job boards, you can create alerts that get sent to your email when a new job is posted. So that's a good thing to do as well. And the final point here is just to be active on LinkedIn. You know, if you see insights and you want to contribute to the marketplace, share those particular articles, comment on other people's articles, get involved, and just get your name out there. I think that's really something that can help people. Just get in front of the right people, because once again, guys, it's about building a network to get in front of the right people that's going to be able to get you the job. There are a lot of jobs, but you've got to get somebody's attention. I think that's the most critical thing. But anyway, guys, that's all from me. I'm happy to answer any questions. I hope this helps. And back over to you, Dave.
Wow, Greg, that was really insightful and great. Thank you for painting that picture for us and just exactly how lucrative a career in cybersecurity is currently and the projections of what it looks like in the future. I'd now like to open the floor to anyone that would like to address any questions to any member of the panel, or please feel free to use the chat box provided and we will address them.
Thanks very much, Dave, and thanks very much, Greg. That was super interesting. I was actually taking notes as you were talking as well. Thank you very much for joining us today and for the great presentation.
Entering the field of cybersecurity may seem daunting, but rest assured there are many pathways and on-ramps to get started. There are a wide range of positions within cybersecurity spanning over every industry sector, which allow candidates to match their skills and experience to the position that best suits them. Early in the new month, we will be hosting our open day for full stack developers. Keep an eye out on our social media platforms for future programs that we'll be offering. A massive thank you again to our panel for their invaluable time, and to you, our prospective cybersecurity specialists. All this information and more is available on our socials as well as our website.